It's the 5th of March 2024 and I'm on the lovely Penryn in West Cornwall. Beautiful day, the springtime. Green lanes are certainly greening up, lots of celandine in flower, primroses scattered around here and there. So probably all noticed that beavers have been springing up in various places, kind of spontaneously appearing. There's no kind of scheme for licensing the wild release of beavers at the moment, so they've kind of been appearing informally, not necessarily under their own steam, but I don't know, maybe. So what do I think about that personally? So first, I think we need to fundamentally change the way in which we look at, treat and manage river systems, by which I mean the river channels plus their functional floodplains. Currently the kind of land ownership and land management regime kind of leads to very fragmented, disjointed river management and riverside management. And rather than kind of leaving to chance how each individual stretch of river channel and river floodplain is managed, we really need a far more integrated systems kind of approach to river and floodplain management, which kind of treats rivers and their functional floodplains as a single whole and treats the river system, not necessarily the wider catchment, but just the river and the functional floodplain as a similar way to we treat kind of services infrastructure as an integrated whole. And we need to be paying landowners and farmers, whoever kind of the riparian owners are, right out to the edge of the functional floodplain. We need to incentivise those people and pay them to manage rivers and their floodplains as basically water storage and conveyance systems as the top priority, not food production landscapes. There's plenty of areas to grow food, and you can grow food from more naturally functioning river floodplain systems, such as high quality beef and various other things. So yeah, we need to basically step back. We need a kind of a managed retreat. It's not really a retreat, but a kind of a managed evolution of the way in which we manage river floodplain systems back towards their more natural state. And obviously beavers will be an absolutely crucial central part of that gradual evolution. So if we're moving in that direction, where essentially rather than trying to prevent floodplains from flooding, from holding, storing and conveying floodwater, rather than trying to prevent that from happening, we actually use floodplains to store and convey floodwater. And that being the case, beavers will slot into those kind of systems absolutely perfectly. If we engineer out vulnerable infrastructure, such as villages and individual properties, and raise roadways, we can allow the river floodplains to function more naturally to store floodwater and thereby provide kind of habitat for beavers. And beavers will be part of the kind of the ecosystem process that enables that flood storage to happen. The whole licensing situation in England is a chaotic mess. Defra has failed basically to grasp the opportunity represented by beavers and more naturally functioning floodplain systems for biodiversity, but also for landowners. And one kind of symptom of their complete failure to manage river systems sensibly is their foot dragging when it comes to licensing the release of beavers into the wild in England. And I have lots of sympathy for beavers taking the situation into their own hands and suddenly appearing in places, helped or otherwise by us. So I think now is the time to welcome beavers appearing spontaneously. Whether or not those spontaneous arrivals are licensed, I don't care if a pair of beavers got a licence before they appeared in a given river system from Defra. Defra isn't going to issue one at the moment anyway because they're just in a mess. Got no funding, the ministers are incompetent, and yeah, so I think beavers should be spontaneously appearing unlicensed within river systems across England. I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. Completely changed my mind simply because Theresa Coffey was completely hopeless and nothing much has changed since she was thrown overboard, metaphorically obviously. And yeah, I just think the time has come to welcome beavers into the wild across England, licensed or otherwise. If we accept that, and most people probably wouldn't, because, you know, beavers are breaking the law by appearing in the British countryside, unfortunately, without first getting a licence. But if we do accept that beavers should be out in the wild throughout river systems, I think it's incumbent upon the conservation communities to manage the situation, to kind of take the lead in setting up beaver management groups, maybe in each county. Maybe that would be a bit too bureaucratic, but there will be issues, so beavers will cause problems. They're ecosystem engineers, so existing land uses and landowners will run into issues with beavers suddenly appearing on their land. So on top of Defra, the government, setting up a system whereby landowners can be paid in a much more integrated way to manage floodplains as integrated systems, I think it's incumbent on the conservation community to set up beaver management groups. A lot of this is going on already across probably every English county to manage the arrival and expansion of beaver populations. So we already know that the effects that beavers can have when they misbehave from our point of view can be managed. So there's no question that beavers can be integrated relatively harmlessly into landscapes. They are very industrious though, so they will pen up water levels and change river systems and river floodplains in various ways that will need to be managed, because not all current floodplain river land uses can kind of function very well under the influence of beavers. So people will need to adapt how they use floodplains, and we need systems in place where we can help landowners to come to terms with having beavers potentially on their land or being affected by beavers near their land, and can adapt how they use their land, that being the case that they have got beavers. But like I say, the government does need to set up a good system whereby rivers and their floodplains are managed in a much more integrated way as kind of service infrastructure, surface water management infrastructure. So let's welcome beavers into the English countryside. I'm talking about England, natural England and Defra at the moment. Let's welcome them into the countryside. I think we should have beavers in every river catchment across England, and it won't take long for them to appear in all of them. We should welcome them, we should get on with them, getting them back, despite foot dragging from within what, by wide consensus, is a fairly incompetent government at the moment. We should get on with it, and I very much look forward to seeing beavers near me. Anyway, probably what I'm saying here is just obvious to people who actually work on beavers. I don't. I just come from the Isle of Wight, where I know lots of work has been done to assess the feasibility of bringing beavers back, and unfortunately Defra has kind of scuppered that particular project for now because they're just not doing anything about licensing. But yeah, do comment below. Is what I'm saying just obvious that we should bring beavers back despite the lack of a licensing regime? Is it wrong? Am I just stoking problems by saying that? Let me know what you think in the comments below.